Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. Today is 2019, October 27th, Sunday, 9 o'clock p.m., San Francisco time. And today we are going to do a impromptu JavaScript plus SVG coding, live coding. We are going to plot a math curve. Now, this is impromptu. Now, my sleeping schedule, my video talk show schedule is kind of in a mess. Okay, so I was not planning to do a video today, but I woke up and it's the right time. When you wake up after 2 hours, that's the best time. That's the best time of your day. So usually I choose that time to do the video. So normally it's something like 10 o'clock in the morning or noon. But I figured I'm going to do a video. So you see, every time I think of many people who, especially Bart, who wants me to stick to a schedule. But I'm thinking, I'm doing it every day. I'm doing a video every day, and I know for a lot of people that's too much. They don't have time to just spend 1 hour, 90 minutes to just watch my video. There's millions of videos out there. But it would be, I mean, it's great. There are some people who like to watch my show every day, but I'm putting out a lot. So I'm thinking, it doesn't really matter if you cannot catch it live. So anyway, I mean that's my excuse for my random chaotic schedule. So today it's going to be very simple. Okay, today we are just going to do a JavaScript live coding that I did not finish last time. Stop this. Okay, so JavaScript plus SVG coding, and we can finish it in 40 minutes. Last time about 2 days ago we tried that and we did not finish, but this time we will. We will start from scratch and do it. So okay, so that is the premise. So what are we going to do today now is to write a JavaScript code to create this image. This is created in Mathematica, and it's a PNG file, as you can see, so it's static. I'm going to change this to a live JavaScript code. So open the file, so you can see this is the source code for that file, and this is the PNG file right there. Start command log mod. Okay, all my Emacs commands you can see on the left window here for those of you Emacs users. So we're gonna create this in JavaScript. So first, actually let's go to my directory. Okay, actually I have a template here. Let's start from scratch. Okay, so we are going to create a new file in HTML mod, and HTML insert a template, JavaScript plus SVG plot math curve. Okay, that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna insert a random div tag with a ID. Okay, SVG. So this is our random tag, and also we're gonna show in browser. Okay, I need to save this xx2.html, xx plot, let's say, JavaScript plot. Okay, now show in browser, it's empty. Now let's see title h1. Okay, now we got a title. Now we're gonna insert a style sheet. Okay, style, and the style is gonna be ID SVG that. Okay, and switch to CSS mod, and let's say border solid thin gray. Okay, switch to HTML mod, show in browser. There we have it. It's empty, therefore you get a line. And the next thing, let's pop this out. The next thing we're going to do is to, okay, so what we have, so we're gonna create a SVG. So we're gonna create a JavaScript file. Okay, so paste the file path, name it JavaScript, and call a Emacs command to linkify it. Okay, then open the JavaScript file. It's new. Okay, create new and put a date. Okay, there we have it. Now back to this showing browser. Okay, there we have it. And in JavaScript, now we begin to code JavaScript. Now we want to create a constant, this name, and we want to say document get element by ID. Okay, and we have that ID. Then we need to create, okay, close this, hold on a second, reopen, magnify, go back here, show in browser. Now we need to create a SVG element. Okay, let's go to my SVG tutorial because I don't remember what's the command. So what's a function? So we are going to create a SVG element, and here is my tutorial, scripting SVG, and basically here is the code to create the whole thing. So let's copy it and let's go back to JavaScript and let's paste it here. Okay, so this code, we have a function here, then at the end we call the function here. And the function, first of all, create a SVG element. So let's do that. Let's okay, hold on a second. So let's create a SVG element there. SVG element. Then we, okay, let's copy that. Okay, then we set the SVG height and weight. Okay, then we create a circle element. Then we append the circle element to the SVG element. Then we append the SVG element to the div SVG part, which is that. Wait. So document get element by ID actually. So we attach it like that. Append child. And now we can delete this function. We don't need it function. We are coding everything directly. So now we go back to the JavaScript showing browser. Now I have JavaScript off here, so I need to show in Google Chrome. So let's do it because I have JavaScript on there. Test. Okay, good. I'm good. And now, so let's show it in Google Chrome. So Chrome, open in Chrome browser. Okay, so enter. There we have it. So we have a circle of SVG element. Now all we have to do is to remember. Let's hold on a second. Let's copy this. Copy the file path. Close it. Go back here and add a horizontal line and paste the link here and show in browser. Okay, refresh. That's good. Let's move it here. So what we want is actually this graph. This graph is what we are trying to do. So let's go back. Let's copy the graph over here. So copy it, close it, paste it, show in browser. So this graph is what we are trying to do. So let's begin. Let's start to create what we want. So go back to the JavaScript file and okay, so here we create a SVG element. Then we set the width and height. then we create a circle. Now a circle is not what we want. We want a, now to plot this, first of all we need to define a function for this function. But before we do that, let's just say x squared. Okay, define a function, constant error function. Let's say math f. So math f is our function. So x, so you enter x and it returns math, let's say x squared. Okay, let's say that is our function. So we are going to first of all try to plot x squared. So how do you do that? First of all, for each input to the function, we need to have a output, that is the value y. But we need a coordinate, so we need a pair x and y that represents a point on the curve. So what we can do is that we want to map this function into an input range. Okay, let's say x mean, constant x mean from 0 to x max. X max, let's say 3. So plot this curve x squared from 0 to 3. Okay, so first of all we need to generate an array of elements from 0 to 3 with intervals of, let's say, 0.1. Okay, so we're gonna create an array of intervals from 0 to 3. So how do you do that? Now in JavaScript there is no range function. In Python you just say 0, 3, 0.1. That's how you do it in Python. But in JavaScript you don't have that. So how do you do that? Okay, we go back to my JavaScript tutorial, JavaScript in depth, and you go to the array section, array, understanding array, and there's a section, a page on array how to. So here is a function, range function, to generate array. So I have written this function. It's pretty easy to understand. So let's put the function here. Let's put the function here. So this function xRange minimum max will return an array from min to max. And if you give a step, it will return array by that step. Basically, the way you do that is just a for loop. You see, this function is using a for loop. In fact, for loop is the fastest way to generate a array. That is the nature of JavaScript. There's nothing you can do about that. So for loop is the fast way to generate an array, the most efficient way. Why am I mentioning that? Because typically for a functional programmer, me, or those of you who prefer functional programming, you don't like to use for loops. But in JavaScript, you have no choice. That's even though JavaScript supports functional programming, but the best way to generate array, the most efficient way, is simply a for loop. It's faster than for each or other ways to do it. And remember, the thing is that we need a step, because if we do not need to a arbitrary step size interval, then you can simply do this kind of incomprehensible way with JavaScript 2015. But anyway, so we have this function start range, so let's just use that. So input, so we're gonna call range start range, and actually, so from x min to x max in steps of okay, let's put it here, x step 0.1. okay, so now that gives us a range. We need to save it into a variable input, okay, x range, x values, let's say. Okay, now that x values is the input values to x. what's the next thing? We need to map this function to x values. Okay, let's do that. So math function, which is wait. So x value is an array. We want to map. Okay, and then we pass the function constant arrow function. So the function, wait, not constant arrow function, arrow function. Okay, the function will take a value x and return a pair of numbers x and y. Okay, so the x value is just x itself. The y value will be math fx. Okay, so for each input value of x, we return a coordinate, a vector of two things, x and y. Okay, that is the points. So we're gonna create a variable constant PTS. Okay, so that's the result of that is a list of points, right? So what is the next thing to do? So now we got the list of points. We need to, let's go back to what's going on. Hold on a second. So now we got a bunch of points. Let's refresh. Okay, so now we got a bunch of points. Each point is a point on the curve. We need to represent it by a, wait, is there something that jumps my mouse? Oh, because my interactive pen is is on. So good morning, George. So let's do this. So we got the list of points, and for each point, we want to generate a SVG circle to represent that point and show it in this graph. So how we do that? Okay, so first of all, so here is a bunch of points. Then we map the points to, you see, this is how you generate a SVG circle. And in here we see that giant circle, that is that. But now we need to generate a list of circles, SVG circle element. So let's do that. So PTS is points, and it's an array. So we're gonna map. We are not going to map. We're gonna do for each because we don't care about the output. We just want to generate a bunch of SVG circles. Okay, but before then we need to assign the result to a variable. So let's say constant circles, point circles. Okay, something like that. So we're gonna map this by a function for each. So for each pair of values, we are going to create a SVG circle like that. So for each here, we need a arrow function. Okay, arrow function, and in this arrow function, hold on a second. So arrow function, the input is x and y, and the output, not the output, but what we do with the xy is that we are going to create a circle. Okay, create a circle. Okay, let's copy this here. For each x and y point, first of all we create a circle. We set the x coordinate to be x. Okay, to string. Okay, and for the y coordinate we do the same thing. Okay, to string. The radius will be, let's say, 3 point for now, and the circle will be colored red. Okay, so now let's put some comments for each point generate a SVG circle element. Okay, so that's what this part does. So now we have point circles, okay, and attach them to attach them to the SVG element. Okay, then attach the SVG element to our div element. So that should work. Let's try it. Refresh. Error. Okay, it's not working. So let's look at what's going on. So we turn on the error log, the browser JavaScript console. So it says uncaught type error, failed to execute line 47, append child or not, parameter 1 is not of type not. Oh, okay. So I know what's going on. So for each of these, all right. So point circles is a array, and each element is a SVG circle element. Now you cannot append it to SVG. You cannot append child because append child requires the argument must be a not a array. So that's easy to fix. So what we need to do is, so we say point circles dot for each. So for each of one of them, we're going to append. Okay, so yeah, so wait, so we need an arrow function here. So for each one of them, we are going to SVG append child. So we don't need that. So this is how we do it. Attach circles to the SVG container. Okay, so for each of them, append child to SVG, then append the SVG to our div element. That should be it. Hold on a second. Yeah, that should be. Hold on. Let's shrink. Good morning, Liam W. So okay, so let's see what's going on with our code. Let's go to the browser, refresh. It should work. You know, this is the show it. Cannot read property for each of undefined. Okay, I know. I think what's going on. So what happens is that this value point circles right now is undefined. Why? Because for each actually returns undefined. That's what it returns. I mean, because for each is just for side effect. So instead of for each, you want to use map. So let's change that map. So let's refresh browser. Fail to execute. Append child or not. Parameter 1 is of not type not. Oh, I know why. Okay, now we use map. Map will return a array because PTS is array, and we map this function to it. But this function right now doesn't have a return value, so you need to return the circle. Okay, so that's what you need to do. So once you return a circle, you got the point circles is a vector. I mean array, where each element is a SVG circle element. Then for each of them, you do for each, you append it, then it should work. Let's try. There it is. We see something there, but something is wrong because you see we run into the problem last time, because right now you see the red dot on the upper left corner. That's a lot of red dots. Because this function, let's see what's going on. So here so far what we have done before, it's all simple. We are following the basic programming of SVG. Now you understand SVG, you create elements, you understand JavaScript, you create array, you create elements, you attach to SVG, then you get a graph. It's all correct. However, here comes the some kind of intrinsic problem of creating a math plot. So now the problem is not about JavaScript or SVG, but rather it's about the range, the plot range, and your actual things you want to plot. Because right now they are all within that area. You have to figure out a proper, the proper range, plot range, so that they show up. For example, let's see if we can fix that quickly just to show. So here we have a SVG attribute width 100, height 100. Let's increase it to, yeah, that's why, because width is 100. Meanwhile, our x max is 3, 0 to 3. So that's why everything is showing up in a corner. So let's say width is 4. Let's say width is 3, height is, let's say, 10. Let's try it again. Okay, better, but still, what's going on? Height 10. Okay, I know what's going on. You change then ask, why am I writing a plot function? Because that's my job, kind of. Because I'm trying to create, because I have this math project with a lot of these plane curves. Those are created in Mathematica about 20 years ago, and now I'm trying to replace all of them by interactive JavaScript. So this is the first step towards that direction. Yeah, but Mathematica is great, but I need it for my website. So JavaScript. So okay, so now the problem is, okay, so let's try to finish this, okay, today. So just focus on this thing. Now the problem is, you see, our SVG width is only 3. That means 3 pixels. That's not going to work. 3 pixels. 3 pixels on your screen is too small. So what we need to do is, actually, there is a SVG thing that's called SVG coordinate. Let's go to my JavaScript tutorial and let's see. Let's go to my JavaScript tutorial. So let's go to SVG tutorial. So we need to use the viewbox. Viewbox is how you control the coordinates within a SVG element. So let me refresh. Now, when you have a SVG element, you have, for example, here is a SVG element. You have width and height. That's in pixels. Now that specifies the canvas, the canvas. They call it viewport. So this, you see this red box, that's a visible, the canvas. You can say it's canvas. So the width is 100 pixels, height is 100 pixels. Now by default, so that's one thing. But however, when you the points inside the box, they also have coordinates. So by default, it's also 0 to 100 for x and 0 to 100 for y, from top to bottom. So the 0 is on the upper left corner. Okay, so there are two concepts. One is the width and height of the viewable portion, the canvas SVG size. How much is your viewport? The other concept is the actual coordinates inside it. So for example, I say width and height 10. So you got this size screen. But however, suppose I'm trying to plot x squared. Now x squared, or some other function that goes from 0 to 1000. So obviously it won't fit because this is only 10 to 10. You are plotting something beyond 10. So, but you can change the coordinate, create a user coordinate so that from the left to the right is 0 to 1000, even though the actual canvas size is 0 to 10. So that's what we want to do. Change the coordinate, user coordinate. So in order to do that, you go to the SVG, you see it's called viewbox. Okay, and here is the syntax. Here is the syntax. Width, height, and viewbox. So let me paste it here. So let's do that. Okay, so width, height, viewbox. So we're gonna add another. So width, let's say width. So width, let's say 600. 600 is a good width. Viewport. Something like that. Let's say 800. Okay, width is 800, and height will be what should our height be? Let's say 800 too. Let's say 600. Okay, so we have a kind of a TV sized box. Okay, and we can see it if you refresh. You see now we got a TV sized box. Now you see all the points is on the top upper left corner. So let's change the radius. So hold on a second. So the circle is here and the circle radius is here. So circle radius 30. Okay, refresh. Now you see that's circle radius. Now let's change the function. So our function is x squared. Let's just change it to 2 times x. Okay, so refresh. That's still no good. Oh, because x min is 0 to 3. That's too small. Let's say 0 to 10. And let's say instead of 5, 0 0.5. Okay, refresh. Yeah, it's still no good. Let's say 0 to 800. Okay, now we got too many points. Let's say step. Let's say in step of 10. Refresh. Now we start to see the dots. Let's say step of 30. Oops, 30. Refresh. Okay, now we kind of got the plot. Let's change the function to x squared again and see what happens. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to use the view box. Okay, so to do the view box, we set the attribute view box, and the value should be x minimum is 0, y minimum is 0. That's the upper left corner, and x width and x height. So what the coordinate we want to be? So let's say 800, and height will be what are we? Height will be 100. Let's say. Let's see what happens. Okay, syntax error. Okay, unexpected token. Oh yeah. So go back here. Now we kind of okay. So you see here's a problem. The problem is that we created a canvas size, with the width, height, and we can specify the coordinate inside it, like from x is from what to what, and y is from what to what. But depending on our function, the function may output values. Given an x, it may output y to be very huge, like from 0 to 1 billion or something very large, which will fall outside of your coordinate. Or On the other hand, sometimes the function depends on the function. This function may, the y value may be between 0 to 3, very small. So in that case, if you plot it, in this coordinate, it will become like too tiny, invisible on your screen. So the first issue we need to do, the first problem we need to solve is we need to find what is the maximum value of the function, and the maximum and the minimum of x and the maximum of minimum of y. So what our job now is, we got a range of values. We want to find the points we need to find. So here's a bunch of points. We need to find the x minimum, y minimum, x max, y min, y max. Now x min and x max we already know from 0 to 800. Let's say we are plotting from 0 to 10, okay? X min and x max. So we are plotting our function x squared. So x max, let's say 5. So 5 squared is 25. Okay, so step is 0.2. Okay, now 5 squared is 25, so y max is 25. So let's hand coded it. Constant y max equals to 25, and y min is 0. So we got y min and y max, and we can let's move this down. Let's move this SVG element down. So first of all we get our points, then we start to create SVG stuff over here. And actually, let's put it inside a bracket. So copy that, cut. So inside this bracket, we'll be creating SVG stuff there. So now we got x min. So here's our function from x min and y x min and x max, and then here is our function's values. Hold on a second. So okay, so here, hold on a second. So let's redo this so to make the code clean. So yeah, so let's do this. So here's our function. Here's x min, x max, and here is the input values for x, and here are the actual points data. So let's change the name points to points data. Okay, so here is the actual array. Each element is x and y. Okay, then we want to find out what's the y min and y max. Now we are hard coding this for now. Okay, now once you know y min and y max, you can adjust the coordinates. So we want to be from, so let's do this. Let's see how we do this. And it's 0 0. Okay, that's how you do it. This is JavaScript template string, JavaScript 2015. So in here you can put any JavaScript code. So the x max should be, the x width should be x max minus x max minus x min. Yeah, so x max minus x min, that's the width. Okay, so let's do this here. Let's constant x width equals to x max minus x min. Okay, so now we can put the x width here, and y, so we need y width. Y max minus y min. Okay, so that's y width. So y width should be here. Actually, dot to string. Technically, that's should. Well, actually, we don't need that. So now we have. We don't need that line. Set attribute. We don't need that line. So now the canvas width is 800 and height is 600 pixels, but the actual coordinate will be from 0 to x width and y width. So let's see if that works. Please. No. Reference error. SVG1 is not defined. So SVG1 is not defined. Oh yeah, because it's about the last line. You see, we are attaching the SVG to our div, but uh, but you see it's outside of this scope. So we need to move this inside. So move this inside. Okay, so back to browser, refresh. Oops. I know why is that, because now the radius is too big, the radius of the circles, you see. So here we are creating the circles. Now the radius is should not be 30. It should be, yeah, here is a very problematic part of SVG, because the radius, the value should be is with respect to your user coordinate. So now the user coordinate is x width and y width. You want to find the appropriate size for the circle. For example, let's just change this to 3. Let's see what happens. Refresh. Now you see it becomes that. So it's actually not 3. Let's say 1. Okay, that's no good. Let's say 0.5. Now I don't know why is they look like that. Let's see, where did we go wrong? This is a headache. Okay, I got a bad feeling that we are not going to finish this in 20 more minutes. Oh my god, I tried this last time, it failed. So anyway, so let's see what is wrong. So we got our function. Let's try simpler. X equals to x. So this should plot a straight line. Okay. And in that case, if then what's the maximum? The maximum is just x max, same as x max. Let's try it again. Yeah, that's correct. That's what we expect. Now let's try to write a function so that we generate this y min and max, y min and y max automatically. So we want to find in the points data the x minimum and the y minimum. So actually, so to do that, I have written already the code to do that. So let's try to borrow that code. Maybe that will save our time. Let's find where is the okay, looks like this is a function get curve min max. Okay, so here is a function. Okay, so we can use that. So let's use that. So we define a function. Now our code is getting complicated. So here is our function. This will take a array. Okay, so this function is actually not in the format we want. So it's taking an array where for each array you have each array looks like that. You have t and x1, y1. x1 and y1 is the coordinate points. T is the actual input to those coordinate. So in order to use this function, we need to change our format. So instead of just the vector xy, we need to change it to the more general, the input, then the x and y. Let's do that. So this is getting more and more complex. Because it's actually difficult to do. To this. So actually, so let's change our format. So where do we change? So point data. Okay, so it's in the point data. So let's do that. X. So this is what we want. Point data. Okay, so remove that. And let's see where else point data is used. Okay, it's used here. So we also need to change this part. Points data x, y. There. Okay, so that should work. So we go back here. So we have this get curve min max. It returns x min x max, y min y max. Okay, and let's shrink it. Okay, so get curve min max. Okay, we copy get curve min max points data, and it returns x min y x min x max, y min y max. Okay, it returns that. So constant. So that is that. And we don't need this here anymore. But what about x min x max? Okay, so there is a bit confusion. So let's change the x to t. Let me show you. Let me tell you what I mean. So constant t is time. Okay, time mean t max. T width equals to actually this we don't want to change. Actually, x width we don't want, and t steps. Okay. So the t min t max, t stand for time. So basically here is our function. Here is a t, input is t, and output is tt. Output is a point. Okay, let's change our function. So instead of x returning y, we change it the input to a t, abstract t value, and the output is a point. For example, if you want to plot t squared, you can just do that. So this would be a function for x squared. And And so now we have t min, t max, okay, and t steps 0 2, okay. Then we generate a range of values input. This is t values, okay, range of t values, and then we want to generate the actual points. T values map x, map t x x. Actually, in this case, our function we can just call math function. You see, math function here returns, takes one value t number and returns a vector that is the point of this curve. So points data t values, yeah. So t min, t max, t steps, and t values. Okay. Then we get the points data. Then we can find out the x min, x max, the actual x axis minimum and maximum, and y min, y max, and okay. So let's see. I don't. Let's hope it works. Let's refresh. No, okay, because type error undefined is not a function. Undefined is not a function at line 25. Line 25, undefined is not a function. Okay, so I think this is gonna